so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, this episode of the Positive Head Podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online, and you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to be back with you guys. It has been a minute since I've been here on the show. I hope you all enjoyed my lovely fill-ins, all the lovely ladies who contributed to the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you guys for taking the time to fill in while I was adventuring, journeying in Costa Rica. It was absolutely magical, and I'm going to share some of the magic with you guys. As you can imagine, there was some great learnings, synchronicities, all kinds of goodness. And so I figured, it's been over a week since I've been with you, and I should share all the magic. And we're going to jump right into that here in a moment. But before we do, I would like to take a moment and read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. They not only help us to reach new people, but they definitely help to fuel my fire to continue this labor of love. And so, if you haven't reviewed on iTunes, please do so. It certainly gets me going each day when I can start with reading these reviews. And this one came in by Sophie the Caterpillar, Radically Radiating Radness. And she said, Brandon, thank you for bringing this podcast together in a way that is methodical yet unpredictable. It never ceases to amaze me, and it has sped up my spiritual journey threefold since I started listening last September. I'm having synchronicities, amongst other things, happening all the time, and I even expect them now. The guest always brings something interesting, and the topics resonate powerfully. I feel aligned and happy to be on the unique but similar journey with you and all the P-heads. Love and light, Sophie XX. Oh, thank you, Sophie, for taking the time to review. It is magical when you start opening up the amount of synchronicity, the amount of reflection that's shining back. And I'm excited for you and your journey. And the speeding up, the quickening is definitely something that I think a lot of people are experiencing. Certainly part of my journey that I'm going to share in today's episode. It's, we are ascending. It is happening. The vibration, the quickening, it takes a while. It's slow to get going. This exponential growth, 1 to turn to 2 takes a long time, but then 2 to 4, then 4 to 8, and 8 to 16. You get the idea. That's definitely happening. And so speaking of, let's get into some fun stories, shall we? Yeah, I think we should. So synchronicities that happen, quite a few, and I'm really going to just try and highlight the biggest ones that happened, and there were definitely some other. Oh, there's so much magic, guys. And for those of you who didn't hear me talking about it before I left, a week and a half ago, I went to the Superhero Academy Mastermind meetup, and it was truly that. From there, our group went on. There was about a little over 100 of us. We spent 4 days at Punta Mona, the Eco Village, permaculture hub. The founders of Envision, actually, a couple of the founders live there, like Sarah Wu, who was on the show a few months ago. And from there, we went over to Envision Festival. So it was so epic to go and make all these amazing connections, this soul family coming together that was very much meant to come together, and then going after that whole bonding magical experience, going over to the festival together and having our own theme camp there. And it was just absolutely epic. Okay, so let's start with a story. So I'm at the airport in Atlanta. I'm waiting to go to, the next flight. It's my connection from LA to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta, I'm going on to Costa Rica, San Jose. So I'm waiting. I have about a 3 or 4 hour layover. I decide I was thinking about it. And those of you who listen regularly, this is really going to be part of me going down to, this mastermind meetup and Envision was to get my feet wet, shooting some footage for the first time, video footage for, the forthcoming show Optimistic that I'll be doing. And so I was really excited about that and thinking about that, and really a lot of it kind of figuring out. And part of some of these things that happened that unfolded helped to shape exactly what I want the format of the show to be. And one of them was, I'm standing at the I'm in the airport. I'm standing at a coffee shop. No one's behind me. It's really slow, and I'm feeling the urge. As you guys know, a lot of times I'll feel the urge. I've talked about it before when I'm supposed to have what I call the talk with someone, explaining the ultimate nature of reality, kind of planting the seed in someone about who and what they are, how they can take their life to the next level, empower themselves, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm having that feeling as I'm standing at the counter to order coffee, but I'm pretty tired. I'd hardly slept. I wasn't really feeling like going into all of that stuff. So I'm just having small talk with the barista, and I'm like, it's pretty slow today. And she says, yeah, but I'm really optimistic about it later. And it was such a weird response. I'm like, okay, universe, I get the message. I should have the talk. I was basically like thinking I wouldn't do it. And then when she said that, I'm like, okay, that's just a weird response. Obviously I should. So I take 10 minutes or so and I give her, my spiel and sort of plant the seeds and tell her to check out this podcast, and it'll help her to sort of start getting into tune with, the next greatest and grandest version of herself. Right. And, and one of the things I mentioned to her is like, look, as you start opening up to a lot of these concepts I'm talking about here, you're going to see a lot more synchronicity and, layers of the onion, threads connecting different things energetically. And so I decide from there. Oh, and by the way, prior to me going into this with her, I was thinking, since this is the beginning of the first step out into lots of travels, recording this new show, forthcoming show, Optimistic, I'm thinking, wow, I should at least go film something. I've got a 3-hour layover. My video guy Everett wasn't coming till a couple days later. So, but I had my handheld. I had my iPhone. So I'll just record something, get a coffee, record something, and that's what I was thinking in line. So anyway, I give her the spiel. I go over. I start recording. I even, of course, notate like, oh, it was a cool little synchronicity. She brought up Optimistic, so I talked to her. So then maybe 20, 30 minutes later, I decide I'm going to walk to my gate. As I'm walking to my gate, I walk right by. I'm getting up to where the coffee shop is, at, and facing out to the walkway of the airport is a woman standing with her back to the barista right in front of the coffee shop with a shirt, a black shirt with white letters, big white letters that says "Optimism is a way of life." And of course, I'm like, what? I'm like laughing. I go over, I say, "Ma'am, can I take a picture of your shirt?" Then I go to the barista and wave at her, and she's like, "Oh, hey, it hadn't only been 30 minutes since I talked to her." And I said to her, I was like, hey, remember I told you there'd be lots of synchronicity as you open up to this stuff? And then I had the woman standing with her back to the barista, turn around, and there she is with, optimism is a way of life. And of course, we had just talked about all of that. So in our conversation, so that was super, super cool way to begin my trip. And one of the things that really helped to ground for me, because not only that, within 12 hours, I had another pretty amazing synchronicity I'll share here in a minute. And it made me realize a big part of what I'm going to do with the show is have cameras rolling all the time to really capture a lot of these things that are happening. These, and one of the things with the Superhero Academy, what I really observed is we all have different gifts. There's a lot of people having multidimensional experience, energy healing gifts, things like that. For me, a big part of what it continues to unfold is grounding like magical events in 3D, right? And just really like crazy synchronicities that really help to show and demonstrate that all of this stuff is very real. And so that's one of the things that this adventure helped me to ground is, not only am I going to go around the world and highlight magical people, places, events, but I'm also going to have the cameras rolling all the time to capture the stuff you can't plan for, like this. I mean, that was the very beginning of my journey. It was just so beautiful how that just played out. And, it's one of those things that, as I continue to understand what it's meant to be, actually, one other thing that happened that I'll just tie into this story. So, later in the week, I'm doing little mini interviews with a lot of the superheroes and the people from Superhero Academy. And one of them, Aloko, is a really magical being. And he is one of these people who's very connected multidimensionally. So I'm telling him, a little bit about, I'm here filming, getting some first footage for forthcoming show, kind of figuring out what I want to do and delving into this whole new world of video production. And he takes a moment and he's like tapping in and he's like, oh man, he's like, this show, by the way, as he's tapping in and sort of getting guidance from, the Light Council, I think he referred to it as. He's like, oh, they're telling me this show is going to be massive. And not only is it going to be massive on this dimension, but it's a multi-dimensional show. He's like, they all tune into it. And I thought that was a really fun, cool thing to say and cool thing to contemplate. What an interesting, idea and concept. Well, this morning I received a note from the universe. You guys have heard me talk about those before. You can sign up at tut.com. And this guy, Mike Dooley, sends you notes from the universe. And a lot of times they're synchronistical and just very cleverly written. And what do you know? This morning's note is, would you mind if we filmed you for our latest documentary, Brandon, called Life Rocks? It's a piece we're doing for the Angel Network here. You're by far the most logical choice, not just because your life already rocks, but because you came from behind to be who you are today, and because everyone in the unseen has long been whispering about the hotly anticipated arrival of your success. Shh. The universe. Sign the universe. And then the PS is, last time you were so discussed in the unseen, Brandon, was when you landed your spaceship on top of Stonehenge, thinking it was a crop circle. So I had to laugh at that. That was just so cool to receive that this morning, very timely, and made me think of that interaction with Aloko a few days ago. So let's see. Okay. So next story. 12 hours later, maybe even 4 hours later, 5 hours later, whatever it was, after the optimistic thing happened at the coffee shop, I arrive in San Jose, Costa Rica, and we're all meeting up at a hostel and staying there. All the people are going to be part of the Mastermind pre-Envision Festival. And so there's 100 some of us at this, huge hostel, and we're, in bunk beds and maybe 8 people in a room, something like that. I get bunked up with someone, and everyone's pretty much asleep. I get there late, so everyone's pretty much asleep. The next morning, I get talking to the person who was bunked under me a little bit, and turns out he actually is part of a group called the Mystic Misfits, and he uses sometimes in some of their performances or when they're doing their thing on stage, he'll use the song by Sean Wasabi that's a part of this, that's the intro to the podcast. And he's like, oh, I know your podcast. I actually got the song, from your podcast that we use sometimes. So I thought that was really cool. And anyway, so he's sitting pretty near me on the bus, and I'm half asleep. We're driving to, Punta Mona, multiple hour drive to get there. And I'm half asleep, and I hear someone talking to him about giving him an astrological chart reading. And so I hear this happening, and she's like, oh, you're a Leo with Sagittarius rising. And I kind of perk up because I'm a Leo with Sagittarius moon. And so I said, oh, cool. That's our charts are kind of similar. What's your birthday? And he's like, oh, July 28th. And for those of you who've been around and listening for a while, you've heard my July 28th story. That, of course, is my birthday. So, and I have quite the synchronicity with it. Well, little did I know it was going to unfold even more here in this case. So I decide I'm going to tell this person, his name is Ryan. I was like, oh my gosh, you got my birthday. I got to tell you the birthday story. So for those of you who haven't heard, I'm going to tell it now. I haven't told it in a while. You can go back to one of my first episodes. I think maybe episode 2, I talk about it. But here's the deal. My dad was 28 and he had me on July 28th. It was, so I was his birthday present, right? And it was also my great-grandmother, his grandmother's birthday. In addition to that, her mother, my great-great, died on July 28th. So this continued. I found this, I learned this when I was a kid, and I thought it was really cool. But then, as I sort of awakened spiritually, if you will, I'm like, wow, what is the significance to that date, right? And then more and more has come up. One that came up, my former best friend and business partner and now villain in my story, turns out his baby's mama was July 28th. And so was his grandmother. So once upon a July 28th, about 5 years ago, my favorite producer, DJ Bonobo, was playing on my birthday in San Francisco. So we decided to go, and I met someone that night who was significant. Her birthday is July 25th. Now, the other thing about my birthday is I attract so many people within that week. My whole family almost is within that week. Funny enough, as we record today, the only outlier in my immediate family is my sister, who is March 1st. And I'm recording this on March 1st. So happy birthday, Melissa. But the rest of my family, my brother is July 19th. My mom is July 24th. Me and my dad are July 28th. Well, this person that I met, Gabrielle, her birthday was July 25th. And a lot of people, I have so many connections. One of the reasons I went to the Superhero Academy Mastermind meetup is Chris Jackson, who's been a regular on the show. His birthday is July 30th. It was really his sort of insistence that I come that I ended up even being there at all. There are multiple things that helped to lead me down that road, but he was sort of the last push, if you will. And he's definitely a close friend and important character in my story. And then there's others I'll touch on in a minute. So a lot within that week, right? So anyway, so I meet Gabrielle on this day, and she's definitely, I would say, like a soulmate energy, someone I've just felt very deeply connected to, even though we're not together. And, we're not together at this point. We were together for a year and a half or 2 years. And I've definitely felt stronger threads to this person than anyone else, that sort of unexpected. You don't know why you feel as strongly as you do. It's sort of illogical, even though you're not a match. And they say that about soulmate energy. Sometimes it's like you kind of chase each other through lifetimes, and sometimes you're not in alignment with your own vibration. One is on one level and one's on another, so it's not a fit. And I kind of feel like that with this person for sure. But I met her on my birthday, and the crazy thing about it is, she actually had there's a lot of synchronicity. One, she used to call her grandmother Ma Moo. I called my grandmother Moo Ma. I mean, that's pretty weird, right? But the weirdest thing tying into the birthday is she had a boyfriend, and his name was Anson prior to meeting me. And the weird thing is my family, on my great-grandmother and great-great who died on July 28th, and my dad, they're all from all my roots going back to the 1700s. They're in this small little county called Anson County, North Carolina. Well, her ex Anson committed suicide on July 28th. And the last place that he took her was Disneyland before it happened. Well, the last place my brother took his ex, who also committed suicide, was Disneyland. She happened to have my mom's birthday of July 24th. And so I was telling this story at Desert Hearts a few years ago to a guy. Somehow it came up. And he was like, you know, and the guy I was talking to, his name was Ryan. And my brother's name is Ryan, right? And Ryan said, man, you know what's weird about that story? My brother Brandon and our dad have the same birthday of July 28th. And I'm like, get out of here. Are you kidding me? And so I come back to my camp at Desert Hearts and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just telling my birthday, synchronicity. This guy, his name was Ryan. He had a brother, Brandon. You know, I told the whole thing out loud. Well, someone's setting up camp right next to where we were set up, and the people my friends I was telling the story to, she overhears it and she sticks her head out of her tent. She's like, I just overheard your story, and my birthday's July 28th as well. Now, from that interaction, of course, I got to know her and the people she was camping with. And one of them is Guy Dalton, who, you know, I got to be friends with all of them as our neighbors, new camp neighbors for that weekend. And now years later, Dalton ended up moving to my town. I told him he could stay with me. Long story short, I let him rent out my extra room. And now he works for my company. So that interaction actually led to a very important character in my life who, you know, lives with me, works with me. Of course, his birthday is July 31st. He's in the birthday week. So it was just wild, you know, telling this story. So I'm telling the story, you know, on the bus to this guy and who I just met. And keep in mind, I'd been bunked up with. I was on the top bunk. He was on the lower out of 140 people, 130 people, whatever it was. And as I'm telling it, I'm like, hold on, what's your name again? And he's like, Ryan. And he's like, and you know what? My brother's name is Brandon. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And like, he's there with the third brother, Jordan, as well, who's also a part of the Mystic Misfits. Now, keep in mind, one of the main reasons I went was to start exploring filming footage for Optimistic, right? Spelled MYSTIC. He's there with the Mystic Misfits. So yeah, that was a pretty cool, ever unfolding July 28th saga. You guys will hear as that continues to unfold, and hopefully there will be more magic and insight on that one. So I thought that was really, really fun. All that happened, you know, from the airport synchronicity to that happened in the first 12 hours. And what that really or within 12 hours of each other. And so what that really grounded for me as part of the show is I've got to have cameras rolling all the time to capture this magic as it unfolds that you can't count on, right? So that will be happening. Let's see. There was a couple other really cool things that I'll share here that happened. One was I met someone. Now, one of the other things that's unfolding for me and that I really realized with this superhero meetup, if you will, is we all have different powers. We all are different puzzle pieces. It's like a puzzle coming back together, and you figure out what piece you have to contribute to the whole. And this goes for everyone listening. You have your own sort of superpowers. You have your own, you know, I saw people that were having Kundalini activations over this weekend. I saw people, you know, having energy healing come online for the first time ever. I saw it was truly like something out of a movie, like everyone's getting these powers and having these powerful experiences. And one of the things that I realized for me, of course, is grounding some of these magical things and stories into 3D is a part of what I'm here to do, and that's flowing through me. And the other is my own intuition is really getting stronger and stronger about things. And the more I listen to it, the more it leads to magical things. Small, quick example on Friday night at Envision, I'm thinking for some reason, there's someone you need to connect to with rose that has something, you know, like is wearing a rose or has something to do with a rose. And so that just popped into my head, and I kind of thought it, even said it out loud at one point. Well, a couple days later, I meet someone just totally randomly in a tea house. And when I see this person, it's just like such strong feelings, which I've had before, where it's like I meet someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, who are you? Like I recognize your soul, your energy. There's just something about you that feels so familiar, and like I need to connect with you. And so not much connection happened then, but it was kind of this was sort of like this thought was kind of bouncing around for hours later, and so hours later, I thought it was like all of a sudden I got a strong hit, like, okay, go to this spot now to meet this person, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow this inclination. Now, this is towards the very end of the week, and so there'd already been so much magic. It's kind of like you create a container where you get more and more sensitive and more open to these things, right? So I'm like, okay, for whatever reason, I'm going to follow this. And I remember we've been walking to the location and then thinking, oh man, I'm hungry. I'm going to stop and get food. And it's like, no, go now or you'll miss your chance. So I go there, and sure enough, this person is standing completely, by themselves in sort of a quiet, dark spot in the back area of our camping area. So I have an interaction with them and share a moment and a connective thread, and it was just like, wow, that really happened. That really worked. This really works when I listen, right? And so, I actually looked up this person later and found, I think was pretty sure it was them I found online. And what do you know? Their name has Rose in it. So it was just yet another cool story. One of the other, let's see. One of the other things that happened, I've got a little list here of notes of the ones that I want to share because there were so many. What I thought of with this, the Superhero Academy, like I said, it really was people realizing their superpowers in a sense and coming more and more online. So many clear reflections. Some of the gatherings that we had at Punta Mona were so powerful. And during one of them, I actually am wearing a sterling silver ring, and it bent on my finger. I mean, it's like completely bent. Like I could barely get it off, whereas before it was loose. And it's like, this is not like some dainty ring. This would take a hammer to bend it. I could take a picture and upload it to the Positive Heads Facebook group, and you guys could see it. It was wild. I have no idea how or why, but other than the energy that was so intense, I actually think of going back to one of my first interviews with Yegon, artist Cal Yacintilla, and his partner Eve Olution. And I remember her talking, if you go back, they're amazing. I actually saw them originally in Envision Festival, I think in 2014. She performs why he does performance art, why he plays, his set, his music. And she is very much like goddess energy. And I remember her telling me, if you go back to that that early interview with them, they're amazing. Definitely recommend it. But also you'll hear her talking about how she started doing goddess performance art. And it was, first to her, just like a cool thing to do. These goddess archetypes, let's play that out on stage. Little did she know they were actually real energies until she had a powerful experience of these energies coming through the women during a particular performance. And that's kind of what I feel like was happening here. It's like, we're calling ourselves the Superhero Academy and had our own, stage and everything at Envision. But it truly was like people's superpowers coming on. I mean, Anna Wood, who was on the show a while back too, good dear friend, I had maybe 20-minute time period, the whole 8-9 days, whatever it was, where I just was processing some energy that was, feeling a little sad or whatever. And so I decided, I'm going to go into my tent and sort of process, right? So I go in my tent, zip it up. This is like not apparent to anyone. Literally, Anna comes over 15 minutes later and says, "Hey, Brandon, what's going on in there? I know something's off. I can feel you." And it's like, that's the type of experience I had. It's like everything is pretty transparent. You are not getting away. And so it was just absolutely magical. And like I said, there's people having all kinds of energy healing and channelings and awakenings all around. And unlike anything I'd ever seen. Absolutely incredible. One of the most inspiring things was how people would get up at the mastermind and get really, really vulnerable and share things that, normally people wouldn't share. And when I've said it before, vulnerability is the ultimate superpower. It is like the sexiest, coolest thing you can ever do. And as you become more and more vulnerable, you unlock pieces of yourself that it's almost counterintuitive. A lot of times we've been taught, being vulnerable is dangerous. It's actually where you can connect with people on the deepest level. It disarms everyone. And, just so inspired, a lot of the people there was all ages at the Superhero Academy Mastermind. Quite a few, maybe 10, 15 years younger than myself. And it was so cool to see how many conscious MCs there were. I had to laugh. One night everyone was getting up and sharing. It was like Conscious Superhero Rap Battle 2018 at one point. And it made me, smile and think back, of course, as you guys, many of you know, I made music for many years in my band Kundalini, and then put out an album that was conscious hip hop, maybe 2009 or so. And I used to actually use one of the songs as the intro, Love Transmissions. In some of the earlier episodes back before I started using the Sean Wasabi song. But it was just so inspiring to me to see these younger guys and girls coming up who are just so inspired to write and rhyme and create poetry and put it, and it all with the intention of uplifting consciousness. Because when I started doing it, 97 was when my band originally formed. And it was like, people were like, what are you talking about? Like, what, and now it's like to see so many people, it makes my heart like so full, and man, there's so much talent. That was something that was a really cool, inspiration, seeing how that's really starting to ground into our community, right? And becoming such a piece that at the time I had a lot of issues thinking, man, I'm just weird. I'm this weird white guy talking about all these things people don't get. And to see it now coming around full circle, it really just makes me feel so happy. And for any of you who haven't ever heard, I did put up some of that music a couple years ago, finally on SoundCloud. If you go to soundcloud.com/try, TRY-BE. A couple of people in particular that really stuck out even and inspired me to kind of end this with going back to writing something for the first time, writing some poetry. Numinous was a big influence and inspiration there. David Weber was incredible with some of his delivery, the poetry and rhymes that he delivered. And so I want to end this today with a poem that I wrote just over the last yesterday evening and finished it this morning just before I'm recording here, and I'm calling it Supernova Heroes. And I want to not only dedicate this to all the superheroes that were a part of this magical experience for me, the people, the soul family that came together that I feel I will have deep threads and interactions with for many, many decades to come. But I also want to dedicate it to the people who organized it. Mark, David, Garrett, you guys are amazing for what you've put together here, and such an inspiration. And but even more than all of that, these people, the superheroes that were there, is all of you listening, because you're all magical. You're all superheroes. We all have it in us. I was there with a bunch of people who have said yes. They've continued to overcome. They've continued to persevere. They've continued to believe in their superpowers, enough so that they resonated and with another 100 and plus other people who are very clear reflections. You all have a place there. We all belong there. There is no exclusivity in this journey back to oneness that we're on. We are all extensions of the same source consciousness. You all are superheroes, and it may be lying dormant in some of you. Some of you, it may be some point in the activation process, and everything in between, I'm sure, out there listening. But I challenge you to take these stories that I've shared today, to take this poem that I'm dedicating to the Superhero Academy, which includes you. You are this. This is, whether you're living it now or whether it's something that is forthcoming. Dig down deep. Continue to believe in yourself. Believe that you are worthy of a life that is straight out of, a blockbuster movie. You are the lead actor, actress, director of your own private movie. And your higher self wants to see you write the most epic tale imaginable. And it's up to you to believe that you're worthy. And you most certainly are. So with that being said, I would like to go ahead and end today's episode with, I'm going to read this poem that I've been inspired to write. And also, I'm going to leave you guys with a song from a couple of the superheroes there. Human Experience, David Block was there, got to connect with him. What an amazing soul. Calibri is featured on this track as well. She's absolutely amazing. And this is a collaboration they did a few years ago. So I'm going to read the poem and leave you with Human Experience featuring Calibri. Into Your Wild is the name of the song. Until next time, hope you guys enjoyed this poem and this beautiful track. Journey well. I love you all. You are so beautiful. The way you embrace vulnerability. The way you reflect infinite possibility. Your infectious laugh, the diamond tears you cry that shine eternally outside of time. You've been through so much. And although at times you felt completely alone on your arduous journey back home, although at times you felt like you might collapse under the weight of doubt, the way gravity collapses at the center of a star teetering on the brink of its last breath. Yet you digress. Instead of permanent collapse, you confess. You dig down deep and profess that you shall not be laid asunder by the feeble crack of fear's thunder. Not this time, because you have finally made up your mind and you are oh so clear. Love has made its home here. Deep inside your massive lion heart that beats to the drum of your soul, offering your life as living art. The beautiful colors of your being swirl and grow as you learn to live evermore in the flow. Trusting wherever the wind blows is exactly where you're meant to go. And so now, with every hurt, instead of closing down, you embrace it and take it as a cue to open up even more fully. And you never fake it. You are sincere and genuine and clear, willing to risk it all for love again and again. And so now you are expanding at an exponential rate. And with each temporary collapse that comes, you embrace it like a supernova whose heart has filled to the brink of explosion. But no longer with fear, now with love and trust. Because you are finally ready to combust. And thus you are born anew. A supernova, a superhero, a star so bright, exploding divine light to the world through you.
I'll bloom for you. Push me up against the tree, take me down. I want you. Colors melting in the wind against my skin. Breathe me. in the wild.
Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.